What's up, you guys? Jelly here. Today we're going to take a look at the deck that I ran up in the first 2 days of the December season to champion, and it's a pretty fun deck. For the best comparison, it's kind of like a zoo-style deck, so anybody who's familiar with that archetype from other card games, this will feel somewhat like that. It's a very aggressive deck that really relies on the synergy of the units that you have, as well as smart decision making. For anybody who's been playing for a while, this deck is going to feel very familiar. This is 3.5 Morrigan, a variation on the 4-cost Morrigan archetype. So for anybody who's not familiar with that, when Day of Nightmares came around, we got these 4-cost units that had all these interesting synergies, such as Beltway, with if you have another 4-cost on the field, when you play this card, bounce one of your opponent's creatures, or Lupo, if you have a 4-cost unit in your hand, when you play this, you can get bonus stats. So they created this really interesting archetype that really a lot of players enjoyed, and it had a very strong presence in the meta. With Devil's Awaken, we've got some more interesting 4-cost cards that didn't necessarily have that same synergy, but because they are 4-costed, well-statted, they do fit well with the deck, as well as the 3-cost growth units do kind of provide these great effects in and without sacrificing the consistency of the deck. So honestly, that's how we got to this 3.5 list, and it's honestly a really fun deck. So let's take a look at it, and you guys can figure out for yourselves if this seems like something you want to try out or not. So as we said before, we do have the core of the Force package, so anybody who's been playing for a while will be very familiar with it. So you have your Beltways, like we talked about before, bouncing your opponent's creatures. Really can make them waste mana, and it throws off their tempo, so Beltway is always fantastic. Lupo is so well statted, she becomes a 3/8 as long as you have another 4-cost card in your hand, which is very easy to do in this deck. You are running so many of them that it's very easy to get those stats, so she has a home. Now Remy is the only non-effect creature you're running. At 2/8, he is so well statted that he's a nice body to just sit in the way and to enable yourself to have Beltway active, easy to get in your hand for Lupo if you for some reason don't have another one. Triggers the growth effect of Puke, who we'll get to, so he's just really well fits in the deck. And then last but not least, you have Hunk. Hunk, it is also not one of those 4-cost synergy creatures, just a general purple synergy. When any other friendly purple unit dies, gain +1/+1 in shield. So if he's not targeted pretty quickly, he gets out of hand really well. So he's a nice bomb threat that doesn't cost a lot of mana for this style of deck, and really is just a great contributor. He's not necessarily a necessary card. You can get away without playing him, but he draws attention immediately. So if you start to set up something else and then play Hunk out, when they start to destroy your plans, they immediately have to backpedal, start dealing with Hunk, and then it lets you have the time to start setting up again for another game plan if they do manage to deal with Hunk. So he's a great addition to the deck. Now, with Devil's Awaken, we got 2 new 4-cost units that we're going to be throwing in. The first is Hell Antinora. Hell Antinora is one of the best 4-cost purple units. And basically every purple deck that wants to play units is playing Hell Antinora for the most part. When he takes damage, he deals damage equivalent to its own attack to a random enemy unit. So if you can get him to survive for a while, if you have some buffs, he's fantastic. He makes trading so efficiently. If they're the only units on the field, him and his opponent, he's doing 4 every attack or counter attack to his opponent. So really, he's such a great unit. And then the other unit that we're going to be looking at is Puke. Now, Puke is a 2/7, very closely statted to Remy, really, so that's fantastic. He's going to survive through a lot of trades, and he's going to have a good board presence, but even more importantly is his growth effect. At level 2, with a growth of 4, which is really easy to trigger in this deck, -2 attack on all enemy units for 1 attack. So if you time this well, you can trade really well because counterattacks do not proc this effect. So if you're about to trade into your opponent's creature, and their attack bar is still a decent bit away, you can get away with slapping down that effect, and then doing a nice trade, and then when they hit you, then they still have that -2 attack, so you really save some health on your units. Units with agility, like if you have Devil Trigger in your deck, or if you play out Tigrex as what triggers this, really can take big advantage, because the agility bar can get 2 attacks normally, depending on where your opponent's attack bar was when you played them, or when this effect went off, to before they're able to attack and actually get rid of this effect. Speaking of Tigrex is basically your big bomb creature, 7 cost, 4/7, rush, agility, spillover. He does seal himself on Resonate, but you're only running, what, 3 actions in this deck? 2 counter spells and a Brainwashed. So it's not that hard to avoid resonating yourself, and really, he's so good. That's why we've got 3 of him in there. Those stats, the effects, everything about him is just really good. Definitely one of those cards that your opponent kind of has to deal with right away because of the rush and the agility, and he also just trades so efficiently and helps you clear out even the side lanes if you just slap him down in the mid lane and let him go to work with his spillover. So finally, we're going to take a look at the 3s package here. Now, this is what makes it the 3.5 deck. These are 3 different growth units that have very nice effects that this deck really wants to take advantage of. So now, we're going to take a look at Roots first. Roots is like a pseudo Splendid Buffet replacement, because you are going to have this lifesteal effect on the damage. So it deals 2 damage, or whatever the attack is at the time of the proc of the growth, to an opponent's random creature, which is not targeted, so it can hit Veil creatures, and then you gain that life. So if you do play some buff spells, you can get a little more out of Roots. But 2/5 for 3, that's going to be your baseline stats for all of your growth units here. And it's a nice little ping effect, helps you deal with some of your opponent's creatures, just kill them off quick with a nice little ping, and helps stabilize your life more with that combined with Shadow Blade to let you kind of be a little bit more aggressive with how you can trade away your life, which is really important in this style deck because all your big plays are going to be like 7 cost, 8 cost, 10 cost mana. So you are going to be saving for mana quite a bit. So it's very good to be able to help get that life back between those 2 effects. The next unit we're going to look at is going to be Dalsim. Now, Dalsim is another pinger. You don't gain life on this one, but he can go up to 4 damage. So it can spread, since they are 2 separate effects, the 1 and the 3. But either the 1 damage or the 3 damage, when you proc it, will always go on to a single enemy unit. But if you do something like Dalsim into Tigrex and immediately proc those 2 off, you can get 4 quick damage onto something, and for a first play against certain decks, that can be very devastating to just quickly blow up a unit, because 4 health is not that uncommon. 4 and less. You've got the like 4/2 Flyer, 3/3 Birkin, things like that. And even just getting Dalsim in front, if you get Dalsim in front and do a 6 damage trade with 2 from Dalsim and then hit the Tigrex into his pings, another fantastic little combo. So Dalsim is a very versatile card for this deck. Really great addition to just give you some more direct damage to help kind of kill off those units. And then last but not least is Keshawasha. Keshawasha is another 2-stage growth as well. At 2/5, first he gains Flight, which is pretty good. Flight, there's not a lot of anti-air units. There is some Flight units. So sometimes he can just go uncontested overhead. Sometimes he'll trade with Hellbat or the 4/2 Flyer or something like that. Maybe another Keshawasha. But the big effect from him is his second growth effect, inflicting halt for 13 seconds. 13 seconds is more than 1 attack bar, and it is absolutely fantastic. It is one of the best effects. It is the Dark Hold on a unit. I believe Dark Hold is the 3 cost, 13 second halt. But normally that's why halts are usually only 3 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever it is. It's a very short amount of time because it stops your opponent from doing anything. They can't counterattack during halt, so you can keep punching on your opponent's creatures. And it just opens up a lane, kind of, in a sense, if you have Keshawasha there, for example, and you can just fly right over the unit. So it's a very, very, very good effect. It's something that this deck wants to have, and now that it can do it on a creature instead of just having to put it on a spell and not have that creature slot where you make your 4s inconsistent or something like that, is definitely a big benefit. So then to round out this, as we said before, you're only playing 3 actions. Brainwashed is basically a must include for purple in a way. It's one of the only effects of its kind. As we said before, you have 4 Eyes who can also steal units, but Brainwashed is fantastic. Your opponent can, since it's an action, respond, so they get Selfish Predation their creature, something like that. But you can use this in response to certain buff spells or things like that, and actually really mess things up, because some buff effects don't necessarily say your own creature. Now, obviously, if they're trying to go for something that says friendly unit, like the Black Legendary that's gain 3 attack and give protection, that effect will fizzle if you do it in response to Brainwashed. but some of the pump spells won't. So it is a nice little thing. It is something that will cause you to read more of these cards and learn a little bit more about the interactions by playing it. But it's definitely such a huge card. Stealing your opponent's bombs can really mess up the tempo on a lot of these decks. If you manage to snag Legendary Jill, for example, from the antibody activation deck, or maybe one of their Nashes, really, really, really tough for them when they've got this built-up play that they're going for. And then, last but not least, is the counterspell slot. So, Unforeseen Interference, Soul Reversal, Hidden Intent, whatever you want to do, something that will help you kind of keep going in this deck. Each one has their own benefits. You can enjoy getting rid of your life with Hidden Intent, trade it efficiently, since you do have some life gain effects with Shadow Blade, with Roots, so it's not a bad choice. And Soul Reflect is fine because you can then buff your creatures with that, so it benefits Roots, it benefits Hela and Tenora. A little more risky since it hits less things that are in the meta, but it's still pretty good. All valid choices, definitely high risk, high reward there on each of them, or then you have some default options like Unforeseen Interference where it doesn't really have that drawback. So very much just dealer's choice. This is the way I ran the deck up to champion. One thing that you could change easily is putting in 4 Eyes. 4 Eyes, as I said before with Brainwash, is a fantastic choice. Stealing your opponent's creatures is great. You could take out a Remy in place of it and see how that helps you. So here, we're going to run some replays here at the end now. If you want to check out the full unedited climb, you can check that out in the VODs at twitch.tv/JellingPals. And if you like the content, drop a follow. You can subscribe here on Twitch or on YouTube, or drop a follow on Twitch. And, if you like the deck, if you've been testing it, if you have any feedback, let me know. Drop a comment down below. Hit me up on Reddit, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or on Discord. I'm in the Teppin Discord as well as at the Jelly and Pals Discord. So have fun, guys, and see you guys again. Jill's only able to consistently do a playstyle like that because of antibody activation. Well, a very traditional fours hand, minus this. So we can lead on Roots. And that leaves us the ability to play into a fours effect if we needed it for some unknown reason. Let's do that. Just set her back. Because if she was going for 4 MP Claire first, she either really needs that mana, or just is really greedy. No. And no. Yeah, he's still gonna get it off. Alright, so there's a good line of play here. Oh, it's not gonna go in time. Let's see, what do we want to do here? I'll take that 7 and just kill it with this. Never mind. Let's put this out there.
can't let it end here. There's no point in
Okay.
love is a game of give and take. No, I can't. I can't let it end here.
Alright. So just make a body keep falling behind and win the game. It's the way the match.
How long can you keep it up?
You cannot defeat one who will never stop.
Bang rough.
Prove to me what you're
devil.
made of.
Love is a game of give and take. Shadow Blade.
It's time.
Bang rough.
Prove to me what you're
devil.
made of.
Love is a game of give and take. Shadow Blade.
It's time. I can't afford to doubt myself. I can't afford to doubt myself. It's time.
Love is a game of give and take. Shadow Blade.
I'll hold nothing back. It's time.
Love is a game of give and take. Shadow Blade.
Prepare yourself.
Try harder.
I'll hold nothing back.
Bang rough.
Prove to me what you're made of. It's time.
Love is a game
know
of
what you
give
meant
and
to. Get what you
I'll hold
deserve.
nothing back.
Shadow Blade. You were wonderful. Well, you lasted.
Alright. Shadow Blade.
I'll take good care of you.
Let's see what we can do here. So this hand is not great. I kind of want to swap. It's okay. It's kind of worse. But the heck? I mean, I want him to bounce it now. I'd love him to do that. And I'm just gonna steal that.
Try harder.
Naughty, naughty.
So he's got 2 mana to my 0, but I have the jury now. Biggest problem is I don't have a bounce. Let's see, that'll drop it to 4. Ping it for 2. Just to kill it. So I made him kill his own big play. I got my Shadow Blade first. I've got a 4 on the field. And I've got a better board presence. And he, I guess, doesn't feel confident in his hand that he hardcasted that. Just quickly make sure she dies. I think Ada's 4. But I don't like Ada sticking around ever. So all 4s are off the board. We have 1 creature left, which puts us in a slight advantage. We need mana now.
Naughty, naughty.
I honestly don't think he got that stealth from Ada. He probably did, but I don't think so. Because I think he already had a full EX pocket.
Naughty, naughty.
That's interesting. He really wants that Beltway that he hardcasted to stay alive. I'm just gonna stop that Dark Hold because we don't want it. Alright, so now he's gonna stop that one. So that means he'll be able to attack it with Ada. And I can check my thought. No, Ada's a 3, okay. Oh, he's going all in on Ada. Can't tell what his game plan is here. He's about to lose his Ada. Kill off big creature. Fuck your game plan. Alright, so he's taking that. And let him deal with that. That is in fact a way to deal with that. Not permanently, but it does deal with it for the moment. I'm just going to put this in the way. So he's going to Dark Hold the one that's the closest. And we've still got 5 charging in. Now he's down to 1, and we can counter this. We don't have to. he got that one off late anyway, so he knew he was in a bad spot.
Forget duty. Embrace pleasure. How long?
Oh boy. Shadow Blade. Now it's the mirror. We want to swap this because we don't want two beltways. Oh man. And then we lose both the beltways.
Love is a game of give and take. Shadow Blade. Getting rough.
Where do you think you'll go?
Getting rough.
Where do you think you'll go?
Love is a game of give and take. Shadow Blade.
Oh.
Getting rough.
Where do you think you'll go?
Love is a game of give and take. Shadow Blade. Love is a game of give and take. Shadow Blade. Love is a game of give and take. Shadow Blade. Love is a game
Okay,
of
so
give
let's get that in, and hopefully this saves Lupo. We're lucky. Nope. But it still leaves us somebody to bounce with Beltway. And then we're just gonna put Tigrex in
Where do you think
because growth needs to
you go?
be outpaced. Come on. That quick. And she surrendered.